Happy Sunday. It's a very rainy, dreary Sunday, and I've got a big, long hours worth of work at this week. So I'll show you. I'm gonna take you along with me for what I'll cook for the day, and like how I help prep for some lunches. I don't do traditional meal prep where I cook everything all at once for the whole week because I'm not going to end up wanting what I make. I know that. I've tried that. And by day 2 or 3, I'm like, why did I make this? I don't want this. And then it'll just get either tossed in the freezer or not eaten at all. And that's just a waste. And I'm not looking to waste. So, one of the things I do, and this is pretty common for a lot of people as a single person, child free person, is I make enough food that I always get at least 2 meals out of it. So, that way I'll always have a lunch out of it. So even if I get more than that, like what I'm going to make for dinner tonight is a big pot of soup, I'm going to get more than 2 servings out of that. So I'll maybe make it a lunch, a dinner, maybe another dinner in the week. I really don't like do things more than 2 times a week, 3 absolute max. And then I'll just freeze a couple away and then a few weeks, and then I can spread them out over a few weeks for lunches that I don't have to worry about later. So one of my favorite meals to make is quesadilla rellenos. So I have some steak in the freezer that needs to get eaten. This is a top round steak, so I think like the cheaper cuts of meat like that are good for this kind of meal. And this is definitely enough meat for at least 2 meals, maybe 3. So yeah, anyway, so I also have some bell pepper that's starting to go a little soft in a couple areas, so that we'll use that up. And I have plenty of onions, so like those are okay. But anyways, yeah, so I thought I'd take along the process of how I do this, and that's how I view lunches throughout the week. I make enough for at least to get for a dinner or a meal, like, so this will be today's lunch, and it'll also be a lunch for probably Tuesday or Wednesday this week, as I have leftover steak and mashed potatoes from yesterday's dinner that I'll probably eat for lunch tomorrow at work. But anyways, yeah, so come along with me. So we're going to start off cutting up the bell pepper. Let me get out a good knife. I've already washed it, so we're good there. If I can adjust you down without losing it. There we go. So let's see. Everybody has a different way of cutting bell peppers. I'm sure I do nothing perfect, as I'm not a chef. I wouldn't even say I'm an amateur chef. I cook out of necessity. I wouldn't say it's like a passion or anything. So with where I work, we actually do have an on-site cafeteria, but and that's because I work at a manufacturing plant, and we're literally in the middle of nowhere. Like, you can't see there's nothing around. The closest place to go get gas is 15 minutes away, which is fine. Like, that's fine. So you do have to, like, either be prepared to eat the cafeteria food, which is... So anyway, so like I was saying, so, you know, I work in the middle of nowhere, so, like, there's nothing close by to just go off and get lunch. And so you do have to be prepared to either bring your own or eat at the cafeteria that we do have on site, which is great. A lot of manufacturing plants don't have that. But honestly, it's not the greatest food. But, you know, occasionally you forget, or you don't want what you crave and you go settle for what they have. Or it's also just not really healthy food. So while I am not a health nut, I do, for the most part, try to make healthy decisions 80% of the time. So I do try to bring my lunches a good bit, even with places that sorry, you can probably hear the rain now. Even when lunch is provided at our job, which isn't uncommon, a lot of times I still just bring my own, because you can only eat so much Chick-fil-A or box sandwiches, or they do a lot of like full-on catering, and it's always like fried chicken, fried pork chops. It's heavy food that, one, I don't always want such heavy food, and two, again, it's just not the healthiest of options. So most of the time I will do this, and unless, you know, I'm really not in the mood and I was like, well, I know I have a lunch being delivered, I think, on Tuesday. I guess that's one less meal to worry about. But anyways, let me get back to this. I will say I do make this meal pretty often for when my mom comes over and has dinner with me. She will make this herself as well, but she will say I make it better than her. She doesn't want to cook at the high temperatures that it requires, in my opinion. Like to get that charredness and get the same effects as if you were going to a Mexican restaurant with their open like griddles and stuff. And then now the onion. So I just do like slices and slice them in half again. So nothing fancy. And I do like my bell pepper really well cooked, so I always start with that first, which I hope I don't repeat myself on that, but I probably will. So to me, this is the worst part of cooking, is the dicing and the chopping and all that. If all that was already done for me, I would probably cook more often. There's times where I know, ooh, I really want this meal. And I'll go ahead and do the chopping and the dicing on the weekend and put it in the fridge for later, so when I get home from work, it's like one less thing I have to do, which makes the dinner process go faster, of course, but also like makes me more likely to actually cook instead of pulling out some grilled chicken nuggets from the freezer, or eating peanut butter toast, or having a protein shake for dinner. I'm more likely to actually cook if that stuff is done ahead of time for me. So again, you just want slices for this. So I just slice it on down. And I like a lot of onion when it's cooked, so I will use the whole onion. Also, onion just kind of like cooks down. So, and this is just a regular yellow onion. Nothing fancy. Now I'm gonna slice up the steak. I think I said this in a different video, but the biggest mistake people make when cooking steak is not letting it come to room temperature before they cook it, which makes it, when it hits the hot pan, it makes it tighten up, which is what makes it tough. So this has been, I actually pulled this out and thawed it this morning, and it's been resting at room temperature to get ready for lunch. Because it's a thin slice of top round steak, it thawed really quickly. And then I'm just cutting this into thin slices, which will help it cook a little faster. And then this is probably more than I need, so probably cook some up and give it to my puppy. one time I was doing this and I was going so fast, I ended up slicing my finger. And it actually, the pain, this knife is so sharp that it happened. And I knew it happened, but I didn't feel the pain until like a moment later. And then it was like, ah! So, like I cut like a chunk of skin off by accident. Off my finger, so. Luckily it did not need stitches, but it taught me to slow my butt down a little bit when doing this with these knives. I'm going to end up using more of this than I thought. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's enough meat for the 2 quesadillas for me, and I still have all of this left. So I'm probably going to cook this up separate, plain, and give it to my dog on her regular food for today. So she's been feeling a little down because I've been working so many hours lately, and that won't slow down this week. Matter of fact, I'm considering boarding her because of the hours this week, just so she's at least with other puppies to play with instead of sitting by home by herself. But anyways, that's what I'm doing with the extra meat. So I've got my pan. I either use this kind of nonstick or cast iron. To me, it cooks this up the best. But I'm going with this one today because it's just easier to clean than the cast iron. So when y'all want to cook at a really high heat like this, I'm going to use avocado oil. It cooks, but it's better for high heat, high temps of cooking versus olive oil. So I get it in bulk from Costco. They have the best price. Turn that on, let it heat up. While that's heating, I'm gonna go grab the quesadillas. So while this is still heating up, these are the tortillas I use. It's the Mission Carb Balance ones. I get them in bulk at Costco, and we use them for a couple different things. I'll use them for quesadillas. I make these vegetarian egg rolls, stuff like that, or burritos, enchiladas, anything like that. It's just, it makes me feel, they're probably not the best ingredients wise, I'll be honest, and I try to look at that, but I just have a hard time putting a lot of calories and carbs towards tortillas, and otherwise I would feel like I shouldn't eat it at all. And so this to me is a nice balance, and I just try to not pay attention to the ingredients too much. Wheat flour. Yeah, so I'm going to stop reading them. It's a lot of ingredients for a tortilla. So, but anyway, that's what I use. Okay, so it feels nice and warm now. Might have got a little too much oil, but I'll appreciate that here shortly. So I have it on high of 9, so the next temp up is the high. So a nice sizzle. Like I said, I really like my bell pepper cooked really well, so this part will be the longest until it gets a good char to it. So while we're waiting on this, since one of the things I like to talk about is clothes and fashion on this channel, I thought I'd share with you what I'm wearing today on a day of doing really not much around the house. I'm wearing just some black leggings, an oversized long sleeve shirt because it is a bit chilly with the temperature dropping in the rainy day. This is a size medium, and my little leopard print house slippers. So yeah, otherwise no makeup, so sorry for the look, uncleansed hair, all of that, washing it tonight, fresh for the week, and yeah, so that's it for today, nothing fancy. Okay, so I think we're getting a nice good char on it, like I like, and so I'm going to add the onion. This is where having a little bit of too much oil at the beginning helps, so I don't have to add more. Hopefully. I'm also going to go ahead and salt and pepper here. I like to add seasoning to a lot of my food. This one, I just feel like if you do it right, the flavors with just the salt and pepper and the meat and the onion gives it all the flavor it really needs. And I'll do it a little more when I put the meat in of this. But I do like a lot of cracked pepper, so. And I want those onions to get nice and caramelly and caramelized and a little charredness to them as well before I even add the meat too. Especially since this is thin cuts of steak, it won't take as long to cook as if I'm doing it with chicken most of the time. So definitely have to do more cooking on the front end with this one. But yeah. So I have a bunch of like spatulas like these. Let me zoom out real quick. They are made from olive trees. I got them, and I need to, and I had another one, but it broke. But I have, what other one? Oh, I've got these. Like this little one. This little one. I got these in Greece. What's funny is, and this has happened to me a few times with going on trips, is I'll find something I've never seen before or unique to that country, like spatulas made from olive trees from Greece. Buy them, think they're great. I got a couple other type of things like that made from olive trees. And then a couple months later, or maybe even up to a year later, I'll come back from the trip and they're everywhere. I'll walk into a TJ Maxx or a Home Goods and there's olive tree spatulas from Greece. And I'm like, I'm trying to have something different. And it ends up being everywhere. And that's happened to me with, like, I can't count how many things. But I do love using them. And this is kind of like, outside of like clothes or fashion stuff, the type of souvenirs I like, things that I can use in my home and not just things that sit out and collect dust. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add the meat now. I think we're pretty close. And I'll go back and cook that piece for Coco here shortly. And before I mix it up too much, I'm going to go ahead and salt and pepper that meat. Probably should have done it was on the board, but normally I would. But I don't want it to get on her piece of meat, so. Like I said, I love cracked black pepper, so to me you can't have enough. Alright, just going to sit here and let it cook now. So this is now cooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a bowl to the side so I can do the quesadilla portion now. I did turn down the temperature a little bit, just down to an 8. But I still want that charredness on the quesadilla too. To me, that's how you get the flavor to be as close as you can to what you would get in a Mexican restaurant. So to get the pan ready for the quesadilla, I spray it with this avocado oil spray. I get this at Costco, and I give it a good spray. And take my quesadilla, throw it down there. I got a little off, but that's okay. There we go. And this won't take long. I'm going to turn it down a little bit more, actually, down to like a 6. And I go ahead and put my cheese on there. This is probably where it makes it the most unhealthiest, if I do like a good amount of cheese. But I justify it by saying I didn't have breakfast this morning, so. And I don't a lot of days, so. Now, it's probably more cheese than I probably actually needed even for me, but. So this one will be the first one for my lunch. So I'll have I already have my container out to put it in once it's ready. think my tongs are in my medium-sized tongs are in the dishwasher. And I don't need the giant ones, so I guess I'm going with the extra small ones. And it's got that nice brown crispiness like that. I'll put it in my container. I'll drop some meat behind. Throw that in. Scrape out what I missed. Put her with it. And then I start the next one. And again, I'll turn it down just a hair. And I just get the shredded cheese from Costco. To me, they have the best price, that even if I can't use all this cheese before it goes bad, it's still a better deal price-wise than buying a smaller bag from the local grocery store. So I'm going to put this away. And then let me check the bottom of this. Yeah, we're getting there. So I'm going to go ahead and top this on there. Finish it off. I am a hungry person today. It's almost 12 o'clock and I had no breakfast. If I do eat breakfast, it is on the weekends. But I woke up late today for me. I didn't get out. I woke up at 6, fell back to sleep. Next thing I knew, it was 8 o'clock. And normally I'm going to get up on the weekends, even at 6:30 out of bed. I'm gonna flip this over. Go ahead and turn this off so I don't forget. For some reason it's sticking over here, don't know why. I don't usually have this problem. Oh no, I'm losing most of it today. Oh, it just won't look very pretty for you guys, but that's okay. This is what real cooking is like. I'm not a chef. And I won't use the same pan to cook her meat in because it's got onion in it and I don't want her to get sick. So that's what it looks like, but I also like to add Mateo salsa on it. So I like to put a little on the inside and a little on the outside. I only do the inside when I'm taking the extra for works to help keep the quesadilla from getting soggy. But yeah, that's the final product. Hope y'all enjoyed it and will try it out. It's a very simple dish to make, but it's got so much flavor and it's really one of my favorite meals. I usually like to eat this a few times a month, so 3-4 times a month. But anyways, bon appetit.